I have a new urgent project. So there's this outfit that I've been kind of working on for over a year now. We're going to Hanover on a historical train ride. And last year we did a similar thing. I wanted to make an Edwardian outfit, something around 1910 for my partner. And I bought this book with vintage menswear patterns and I thought, great, I just use that. And the shirt came together and then the trousers came together and the outfit wasn't complete. This time I wanted to complete it. So I want to make a vest. And I started last year with just the pattern pieces, cutting them out, and after that they ended up in this box. I'm really fighting whether I hate or love this instruction and pattern. I hate it because it doesn't fit, which can happen because not everybody is the same, so every pattern has to be changed. But what is really frustrating is the instructions on what to do. It's unclear. Half of it is missing. When I made the pants last year, I made so many annotations with my own words just to understand what they wanted us to do. That's what I really don't like about it. But a friend of mine actually suggested I switch to a different pattern. I did consider buying the suggested pattern and then I kept going with the difficult one anyways. I feel like I learn a lot. Like I have really to think about it, to figure out what the meaning of the word is. That's quite annoying. It's taking a lot of time. On the other hand, it really forces me to think about it, to figure out what is to do. I changed my plans for this weekend. I wanted to finish these stays, but they don't have a due date, or better, their due date is next year. So I have an entire year to finish this. And then the train ride in Hanover is in 3 weeks. So the mock-up only has 2 pattern pieces, which felt very manageable. And I was quite optimistic about it. And I mean, it was fine. But I also kind of knew going in that mock-ups always take longer than you think they will. And this was no exception. Then we did a fitting with all the finished pieces together. The shirt, the trousers and the mock-up vest. And it actually looked really good. It looked like a completed outfit for the first time. Don't mind the pattern of the mock-up though. One of the biggest alterations that needed to be done were the armholes and the width of the vest, because it was way too big except at the shoulders. So that needed to be fixed. Fixing the armholes and all the other things on the mock-up was relatively straightforward, and transferring the changes to the actual pattern pieces was fine too. I started with cutting out only the front pieces so that I work only one piece at a time, and added all the seam allowances as indicated in the pattern, which seemed rather straightforward, and in the same step marking the darts and pockets position and pinning them so that I can sew them. But then I got to the interlining and I had kind of assumed I could do most of it by machine, and it turned out I really couldn't. It needed to be done by hand, which took the whole weekend. I didn't plan for that. And the book continued to be quite difficult. Every step I understood mostly by reading it 3 times and then just trying it and seeing what happened, which works, but it's a bit slow. So over the darts I sewed a little strip of lining fabric with a cross stitch to hold everything in place and keep it as flat as possible so it doesn't show through the fashion fabric later. It's one of those steps where you're doing a lot of work that will be completely invisible in the end, which I find kind of satisfying actually. And there's also a dart in the armhole lining, even though there isn't one in the fashion fabric. The instructions say to do it, and my best guess is that it gives a nicer shape in the end. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going with it. Connecting the canvas to the fashion fabric with pad stitches is done by hand, and you're supposed to use a tailor's hem for it, which I don't have anymore. So I folded a blanket and used that instead, and it worked good enough actually. The horsehair canvas is basically what gives the tailored garment its structure. It sits between the fashion fabric and the lining and you never see it, but it's the thing that makes it feel like a proper vest and not just fabric that's been sewn together. And preparing it took a longer time than I expected, but it's in place now. The last thing I did is sewing on these tapes around the armhole at the front. It's just a simple strip of lining fabric because in instruction it says you either can use seam tape or using a strip of the lining fabric and sew it on. This was actually again one thing where the instruction was so unclear that I wasn't sure if I have to sew it here, which didn't make any sense, or along this border here. And well, I figured it out. This makes way more sense. So at the end of the week, the horsehair canvas is in, the seams are reinforced, the facing is cut, and the vest is still in pieces on the table. This piece looks really neat now. I really love all the construction pieces, all the work that goes in there. Oh, and in between of all this, I also finally finished my candy shirt. I've been knitting that one for a while and it just needed to be blocked now. And now that's done, I have been wearing it and it's so nice to have a finished thing. Especially in a week where everything else is still very much in progress. So 3 weeks left, vest still in pieces, but prepared properly. I hope next week we actually start sewing it together. I think I should have made the armholes a little deeper, but other than that.